Good day, my lovely people. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is Uglo Fashion, and you're so much welcome to the channel. Today, I'll be showing you how to make this kimono gown. It can be worn in 3 different ways. It can be worn as a kimono jacket. That's the first part I did. You can also wear it as a short dress, and if you like, you can use belt alongside with it like it is in the thumbnail, but I don't really enjoy using it with belt, so I prefer it this way. That's why I did not bother to make the belt. So for this tutorial, this is the measurement I'll be working with, and I'll be mixing these two Ankara together. I'll be combining the two together. Also, I used a long zipper, is 30 inches in length. First of all, I folded the fabric into two. Now, to know where the sleeve will end, because that's the first part you should deal with, you measure from the middle of your neckline down to where you want the sleeve to end. So for me, I'll be using 17 inches because it's cut together sleeve. That's why I'll be using 17 inches. I will not be working with the regular measurement of the shoulder. And I added 1 inch. You know, there's a folding. I'll have to fold the tip, the hem of the sleeve. So after that, I measured the shoulder to nipple point, shoulder to under bust, and shoulder to hip. I did not use the shoulder to half length because it's not really relevant for this style. Shoulder to half length, and I later measured shoulder to knee length. Also, I added 2 inches for the hem. So please note, I did not measure the edge of the fabric, even though I have not cut it out. I started after the edge. Having done that, I measured the circumference of the nipple point, circumference of the underbust, circumference of half length, circumference of the hip. Like I said, I did not use the measurements of the half length, circumference of the hip, and whatever I have at the hip circumference, I will measure it at the hem. So if the circumference of the hip, like for this tutorial, the circumference of the hip is 39 inches divided by 4. So whatever I have is what I used at the hem. Then I used my ruler to connect the measurements together. I later added 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for seam allowance. As you can see, it's not a fitted gown, it's loosed. So 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for normal allowance. And I measured that right from the nipple points down to the hem line. The next thing now is to measure the sleeve. You know, at first I've chalked where it will end. So to connect the side to it, the part that will serve as the armhole, since I'm not cutting any shape for the armhole, now I'll just measure 2 inches after the bust. So I measure 2 inches right after the bust, then I slant it down to the under bust. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain here. 2 inches below the bust, then connect it to the under bust. That straight line, just connect it together. Then after that, I measured the circumference of the neckline. I used 3.5 by 1 because this is the back bodies. So I cut the back bodies first. The reason is there is no opening at the back, but there is opening at the front. Now at the shoulder, I measured 1 inch. You can do 1.5, you can do 1 inch. So I did 1.5 actually. I measured 1.5, then slant it back to the neckline. This will allow the sleeve to relax well on the shoulder. The next thing now is to cut it out. So after cutting, I just try to curve this side. It's not sharp. I curve that, and I placed the fabric on the remaining to cut the front bodies. Like I said, the front has openings because that's where the zipper will be fixed. And for the zipper, I just added ½ inch. I added ½ inch for the zipper. So the back and the front bodies are not the same. The front bodies has ½ inch allowance at the middle. So I traced that out so that it will show very well. Then I traced the neckline as well. I separated the back from the front, then work on the neckline of the front. The neckline of the front, I measured for the cuff part. There's little opening after the cuff part. So for that, I used 3 inches. Then I later measured additional 3 inches, which means from shoulder, I measured 6 inches. First 3 inches for the cuff, then the remaining 3 inches for the cleavage part. Now, this is what it looks like after cutting. So for the second fabric that I added, I placed it under, then I traced out the front. You can see. After tracing out the front, I went ahead to measure 2.5 inches right from the hem till it reaches the neckline, but I gave it a cuff shape here. So I traced out the edge, then cut out the fabric. So the reason for these 2 inches is 2.5 inches rather. ½ inch will be for the zipper allowance that I added, ½ inch for the folding. So which means I should have like 1.5 at the end of the day. So this is how it is. I'll be cutting 2 of these since it's going to be for the 2 sides of the front. Now for the pockets, I used 10 inches and 11 inches and 9.5 inches respectively. So, and also for the other fabric I combined, I used 3 inches. This is the back bodies. I cut facing for the back bodies and I added interface to it. The first thing is to stitch the neckline. Having done with the front, with the back bodies, I went ahead to do, I also added interface to the other fabric of for the front, and I'll be using it to turn the neckline. So for the edge, I folded like 1/4 of an inch in and ironed it out. I ironed that so that it will give me easy access to stitch on, and it will have neat finishing. So I've done that for the 2 sides. The next thing is to fix my zipper. So for the zipper, I'll just place it like this and stitch. So you can see how lovely it is, and that's where it ended. If you want yours to be longer than that, you can buy a zipper that is longer than this. So for the back bodies, I also ironed like 1/4 of an inch in and used my hemming gum to do the finishing. For the neckline, I'll stitch it, for the shoulder, I'll stitch it this way. I'll place the front in between the back, then stitch on it. The next thing now is to stitch the measurements. I added 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for allowance, so I've stitched the 1 inch for allowance. Then for the sleeve, I added 1 inch for hem, so this is the hem that I'm doing. I'll just fold it twice, then stitch it round. So for the pocket now, I ironed 1/2 inch in, and I first stitch it from the wrong side. That's the wrong side of the main fabric. So I'll first stitch, then turn it to the right side. Then I'll top stitch the side. After top stitching that side, I'll later top stitch the down part of it. So from shoulder, I measured 20.5 inches. That's from shoulder, and I chalked the middle of the pocket and ensure that it is well placed in between the back and the front. And I've also ironed 1/2 inch on both sides of the pocket. The next thing is just to stitch on it. So thank you very much for watching this video to the end. If you have benefited anything, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thank you and stay blessed.